Hello, guys. The Coin here. It's been a while since YouTube allowed me back to the platform because once again, I got a strike for, what was it again? I can't even remember, for false identity or something, or stolen identity. So they alleged that I was impersonating someone else or whatever. I didn't get it. But this might be one of the last times that I will be able to stream on YouTube, at least with this account. I don't know if I'll make another one because I believe they're going to shut me down again. Uh, Hello, Jay Constant. You know, uh, glad to see someone in the chat since I just started this live stream here. But you know, since the last stream, a lot of stuff has been happening all around the world, and yeah, I just focused on news that were coming in. I'll get back to some topics that I want to discuss. But take a look at here, lockdown news. So according to news sources all around the world, we had been having escalating cases, especially since the last week. So we see here that in the UK, lockdown for a second time. It can't get any worse. Um, Coronavirus in the lockdown day 171. The bottom line is, yeah, everything they're going to push it again. They're really trying very hard, with the cases and stuff like that. They really want to shut everything down. I think Israel is going to lock down again. Let me just check here. Israel is heading for an extraordinary second lockdown to fight the coronavirus. So basically, we have been seeing, according to the stats, we have been seeing staggering cases all around the world. Here in Portugal, just last Friday, so, or was it Thursday? It was Thursday. So on Thursday, they limited our liberties even more. Now we can't have gatherings superior to 10 people here in Portugal. We can't buy alcohol beverages starting at 8 p.m. So I don't know what the relationship is with the virus, So it looks like the virus likes to strike at 8 o'clock, and it looks like it can get into beverages, especially alcohol and stuff like that. So businesses can't open before 10 a.m. and they have to close between 8 and 11 o'clock. So yeah, man, that's the bullshit that is actually happening all over the world. And yeah, it's like I said, man, they were talking about a second wave, but and the second wave is here, and we're starting to see more protests, But in the last few weeks, we have seen a little bit of good protesting going on. Besides of France, France is on protest again this weekend. But the Germans, man, the Germans have been able to organize peace protest events. It has been incredible. These people know what's going on. These people know that that fascism is coming all over the world, and in Germany, the people in Germany, the people that go out in the streets, they really know what is going on. Unlike many people, they believe that all the shit that is actually going on is all a conspiracy theory, which it is. It is a real conspiracy. It's a conspiracy against mankind. It's a conspiracy to enslave everybody, and many people still haven't realized that. And it is sad, but things are going down very quickly. I have been talking about the markets for a while, but there's only one thing. There was only one piece of the puzzle that I hadn't figured out, is the Fed policy and how the Fed works in the United States. And finally, because I have been watching some financial information, trying to find useful information of people that know what they're doing, of people that understand the monetary system, of people that know how the Fed works. And the bottom line is, like many people, I actually believe that inflation was actually coming to the world. Um, well, maybe not in the world, but at least in the United States. And I thought that would be a ripple effect to the crashing of the economy. But what I have learned the last 2 or 3 weeks is that we're not going into inflation. We're not going into hyperinflation, at least in the Fed in the United States. But the bottom line is we have to understand something. You know, when the Fed does something, the rest of the world goes after it. So there is no inflation coming into the United States. And if we even start to see and start to understand the numbers that we have been having in the economy, we see that the GDPs of almost every country in the world has been declining, or every country in the world has been declining, besides this besides of Sweden, maybe, because Sweden was the only country, or one of the few countries, that never locked down, that never shut down the economy. But for the rest of the world, it means that if we have declining GDP numbers, we have a contraction of the economy system, not an expansion, and that is by definition deflationary. And what will happen, and this is for certain, man, there's no way around about it. You know, like I said, I knew that the markets were about to crash. The only thing that I didn't put together was the Fed policies. And basically what they're doing is they're starting to make QE again, right? Quantitative easing. But what most people, or many people, are not figuring out, like I didn't, is that QE is not inflationary, because they're shrinking the money supply, people. And what it means when the central banks of the world start to shrink the monetary system, it means that, you know, money is getting tight. So effectively, it means that the banks of the world, the commercial banks, I'm not talking about the central banks, the commercial banks of the world, they are the only institutions, or the only banking system, or whatever you want to call it, that are able to create money out of thin air. Because how the system works in a debt-based system, which we are living all around the world, is banks, commercial banks, are the only institutions, or money, or banking or economic institutions, that are able to create money. But the problem is right now that the interest rates all over the world, they are too high. So because of the interest rates are too high, and people don't want to loan at high interest rates, and it doesn't serve them anyway, serve the banks, they, in their opinion, the interest rates are too high. So because of that reason, is they're not lending money. They're not lending money to individuals, or to businesses. So if they're not lending money, it means that no money is being created, right? So if no money is being created, it means it is deflationary, because the banks are not creating money out of thin air. And what this means effectively is that we're going into a recession, or a depression, whatever you want to call it. And depressions and the other name that I've just completely forgot that I said, they're deflationary. It's all deflationary. So they're going to they're shrinking the money supply. They're not creating any new money, right? People are not able to make loans, to create loans. And what does that mean? What does that mean in the real economy? Or what does that mean, or what does that represent in the United States in the form of the Fed. It means that the Fed can create money. The only thing that the Fed can do is to borrow money. And they don't borrow money. They borrow they borrow not in the terms of money, but in the terms of bonds. That's what they do. They borrow bonds. And the bottom line is that you can't consider bonds. You can't print money. The Fed is not authorized by the Federal Reserve Act. There is a Federal Reserve Act that prohibits the Fed to create money out of thin air, which is the job of the commercial banks. So what this means is that the bond prices are going up. They are slowly starting to go up, which in the same case will bring the dollar up as well. So what does that mean? Is that a strong bond market, higher bond prices equals higher dollar prices. It means lower equities prices, which is the stock market itself, stock market, commodities, and stuff like that. So if the bond market and the dollar index is going up, the rest of the market has to go down. And we are at the time right now. I've been taking a look at the numbers of the Fed in regards of bond creation, of bond buying, because the Fed can buy bonds and create bonds and issue bonds. So the bottom line is they have to keep buying bonds because they can't interfere in the market itself. And like I said before, the commercial banks are not loaning anymore, right? So if the commercial banks are not creating money out of thin air, there is a contraction going on, and this contraction will get worse. And the markets that will suffer the most will be the stock markets all over the world, because if we hand a strong bond market and a strong dollar, everything else is going to dump. And this last week, the Fed has put up some numbers, and the reality is that the lending of the banks continues to shrink. So it's not halted yet, but it's going to start soon. We already see what the effects are in the real economy. When you have shrinking GDPs, it's telling you exactly what is going on. The money supply is going down, and yeah, that will be the representation of prices, indexes, of everything falling. That is the real thing that is going on. And the bottom line is, once again, I have been talking about a market crash for about 2 or 3 months, but we are at that point. We are at that point. Last week, the markets started to dump on Monday after they continued to make all-time highs. And going through this week, we are going to see an acceleration of the crash, which effectively hasn't started to happen. But because, once again, because the banks are not loaning money, it means that the contraction continues to be severe. And the bottom line is, what will happen in the stock market is that the stock market will have to transfer liquidity from one part of the market to the other. So equities, the stock market, precious metals, everything, they are very inflationary. They have inflated for a long time, since the March crash. So these people, the big players of equities, will have to dump. They will have to dump their stocks to bring liquidity to the rest of the market, to continue to make money with the bond market. Because, like I said, once again, the banks are not printing anymore. So if the banks are not printing, there is a deflation going on. So once again, this will accelerate, because people all over the world, especially the big players, the whales, like we saw in Apple, and in Tesla, they dumped new stocks into the people about last week or 2 weeks ago. So there's a lot of supply in the market, right? There's a lot of supply. There is not enough demand. And eventually, when the demand gets even lower and the market gets flooded by people selling and the will selling, everything is going to crash down. And that's what is going on right now. The retail investors are finally in, or how they are called, the dumb money. The dumb money is getting into the stock market, or started to get into the stock market last Monday. So that tells you already what is going to happen. We are going to have a crash very, very soon. Uh, I'm actually more, because of the data, because of the stuff that I know about the Federal Reserve and the Federal Act and stuff like that. It's not going to last much more, because the system is imploding. Because instead of having inflation, we're having deflation, and like we know, take a look at the job numbers all over the world. Take a look at the GDP numbers all over the world. That is a deflationary, or deflationary economics case, not an inflationary. So the bottom line is that interest rates all over the world are too high. They have to get them down so that the banks can loan again. And it will take a long time. It will take a long time, I believe, before the banks all over the world can start lending money again. So as long as that does not happen, we are going to see the crash. And the crash in everything will only find a bottom when the commercial banks are allowed or willing to lend money again. But once again, because interest rates are too high, and basically most of the people don't want to get loans when interest rates are too high. They want to pay less as possible. And the banks are using that into their advantage. They're saying to the central banks, "Oh, come on, guys! We're not lending money. We're not even lending money to the other to our colleagues because the interest rates are too high. So even if people want to loan money, we will turn them away," which is already happening, especially in the United States. The credit card limits have been lowered. They're not accepting loans anymore. They're not giving loans to almost nobody. Maybe in some cases, but the trend is going down. If the trend is going down, it means that the money supply is going to get tighter, right? It's going to get tighter and tighter. So no money is being created, and that's what we are seeing: deflation. That's why we see GDPs falling. That's why we start to see bankruptcies all over the world. And the job numbers are not helping, because if the job numbers were really going up, I guess the banks couldn't turn them down, because most of the people were working, most of the people were making money, which is not the case anymore. Most people all around the world are not making money. And one nail to the coffin is, or one of the finalist nails to the coffin was the stimulus plan. In the United States, it was rejected, right? So the aid that the American people were supposed to get, which in definition is inflationary, they didn't get it. So the Republicans and the Democrats, they didn't come to a conclusion. So the stimulus package has failed for now. I don't know when they will try to resume conversations. I believe it will take, I don't know, maybe in the start of next year. So they have destroyed the jobs all over the world, and people are not going to get it again. Most of the jobs are not coming back. So yeah, guys, it's really going to get really very, very bad, man. Because once again, I have compared the period that we're going on with the Great Recession, period, which was very, 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 really very bad shit, man. And unfortunately, just taking at the numbers alone, we had record GDP drops. Not even in the Great Depression we had shit like that. So things are going to get really bad. We're going to start to see a lot of demonstrations going on. People won't be able to afford to buy food. That is the reality of all this. And Yeah, guys, it's I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you about this. I think that things were going to be bad, but just taking a look at how things are going, and instead of facilitating the governments all around the world, they fucking things up. They're messing things up even worse with the regulations because of the virus and stuff. It's all against the worker. It's all against the economy. These measures that these these bureaucrats are taking, they're destroying. They're destroying the economy. They're destroying jobs more and more just by using more regulation. More regulations is a stranglehold. So things were already bad in the economy, but now because of the politics and because of the measures that they're taking, everything is going to get worse. I guess I have to. Someone is calling. I'll be back later.